What's going on, guys? Noobs here. Well, Super Nintendo Classic Edition pre-orders finally opened up here in North America, and to absolutely no one's surprise, it was a complete disaster. Who could have predicted? So let's talk a little bit about this absolute just disaster. There's a great summary somebody did on NeoGAF. Amazon, for example, threw up their listing in the middle of the night, which of course just means the only people who are up to grab it are, the reseller bots that are just hammering the page and ready to go. Us normal humans don't even get a chance. What else did we have? Walmart, when that online store opened up pre-orders, they were up for 5 seconds. That's not an exaggeration. GameStop sold out within 30 seconds online or before their site crashed. And then, once their site did crash, it just redirected to ThinkGeek, and they were taking pre-orders only in bundles. So, ThinkGeek, man, they got this figured out. They'll give you what you really want, but they'll basically sell it to you at, marked up prices without it technically being marked up, because they'll just slam you with a bunch of extra garbage you don't need. Great business model. I mean, what can you do? Can you really fault them? So here we have all these stories, people just, desperately trying to get this stuff, and there's clearly not enough supply yet again. Personally, I really lucked out. I was following the news, managed to get over to my local EB Games as soon as I could, and got a pre-order in store. But I've also heard reports that stores are only taking pre-orders for about 10. So you really had to be in the know if you were even going to get your in-store pre-orders, let alone online, which sounds like it was completely hopeless. So, look, I still have yet to see an NES Classic in person. So, I'll give it to Nintendo here. This is a marginal improvement over last time when they didn't even take pre-orders in North America. Still, I think the best time to open up pre-orders would have been as soon as they announced the product, which is exactly how they handled this in Europe. That way you don't have the resellers, you don't give them time to set up, to get ready to hammer those, online sites and grab up all the systems. But let's talk about this. So Nintendo has promised more stock than we got with the NES Classic, but what they haven't said is how much more. It could be twice as much, it could be 10 times as much, or it could be, not even a multiple of the NES Classic. It could only be, a few 100,000 more units, which is, clearly it's not enough based on these pre-order results. I continue to not understand what the point of this is from Nintendo's perspective. Clearly they have data now, so they know, that they didn't make nearly enough NES Classics. They should have been able to gauge the interest level on this thing a lot better than they might have been able to on the NES Classic. So at this point, you have to think they're doing this intentionally, but why? Obviously, they're not profiting, from the resellers making all that money. They're only profiting off initial sales, which could have clearly been a lot higher than they were on the NES Classic, and it seems will be again with the SNES Classic. So what is the point? Is it just to drive up interest in the brand? And when people show up to the store and they can't get this thing, they buy a Switch instead, provided that's even available. I don't understand. I know I've said this in so many videos now, but I don't get it. What is the point of doing this? If someone can explain to me the business behind this reasoning that Nintendo's using, please share it with me. Maybe the idea is you want to have this prestige chase item because it elevates your brand. But to me, there's this huge downside where it's just enraging your biggest fans. And I mean, it's certainly not gonna do anything for your casual fans because they had no hope of getting this thing. I mean, as a super intense fan and follower, I managed to luck out and get a pre-order. But a ton of other people who are just as big of fans as I am didn't. And now they're angry, they're frustrated. I'm angry and frustrated. I should be able to walk into a store the same, anytime the day pre-orders open, or the next day, or the whole week, and be able to get my name down for one. You shouldn't have to chase a company to give them your money. And personally, I'm buying this thing in place of what I'd actually prefer, which would be to buy these games individually on the Switch, digitally, as virtual console or virtual console-like titles, right? That's what I actually want to do. But, the quality of the emulation has been superior so far on the NES Classic, at least. And certainly the value has been much better on these bundle hardware things. So last night, I dipped my toe into the world of the arcade classics, the ACA NEOGEO games that have been showing up on Switch since launch. I bought the first Metal Slug game, had a great time playing it. Now, this to me, this ACA NEOGEO stuff, this should serve as the model for how Nintendo should operate Virtual Console on Switch. Now, it was a bit expensive, over $10 Canadian for the one game, which, value-wise, it doesn't really compare to the Super Nintendo Classic, but besides that, the game looks fantastic. There's tons of options built in the emulator. Options for scan lines, difficulty settings, blood, no blood, control mapping settings, like everything you would expect. It's great. And best of all, they're actually consistent with these releases. So there were a bunch back at launch, but they continue to release another one every single week. And that to me is like the thing that's always been missing with Virtual Consoles. You never knew if the next game they released was going to be the last one, and then you might go a month without anything, and then all of a sudden you might get a bunch all at once. This is so much better. This is what they should be doing. This is how I want to buy these Super Nintendo games, digitally on my Switch. Instead, I'm left, stressing out, fighting for a pre-order, and just happen to be one of the lucky ones who gets it, and a lot of other people, no such luck. So let me know, guys, how did your Super Nintendo Classic pre-order battle shake out? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you're picking up any of those Neo Geo games, and thanks for watching.